Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't have that many minutes, and honestly, I don't know where to start because there's a lot of things that I'd like to refute. I've heard some very disturbing and inaccurate things, frankly. And I guess I want to start by saying to anyone who's listening, who's in the LGBTQ plus community or has a loved one in that community that is feeling upset by what they've been listening to, I'm sorry that this is the type of debate that is happening. I'm sorry that you're having to go through this. This is not fair. This government has chosen to go after a policy that was designed to protect youth, specifically the most marginalized and vulnerable youth, and done so in the most reckless and irresponsible way with the language they've chosen to use, using talking points that we hear uttered in some of the states that are bringing in strong legislation against trans youth. They're bringing in bathroom bans. They're bringing in other things. They're going after drag queen performers. And I've heard the Premier talk about these things. I heard him refuse to say that whether or not there were litter boxes in the schools. I heard him today, even when he wasn't reading the scripted notes, going off script and going after these youth, saying irresponsible things about them, calling into question access to hormone replacement therapy. And Mr. Speaker, as we're discussing all of these things, there are educators, and when there are school psychologists, there are professionals involved, and their priority is to take care of the students. And no, they're not the property of the state. They're not the property of parents either. Children are humans, and they have their own rights that are extended to them. They are not the property of parents. And of course, I'm a parent. Of course I have a role in my child's life. Absolutely, of course. But these humans have rights. These students, these children have rights to be protected. My rights don't overshadow my children's rights. And there are real risks for some of the students that this policy was designed to protect and that their rights are being rolled back. There are mental health risks that are already being exacerbated by the rhetoric being used by the government. And they're at risk of losing housing, they're at risk of being outed, even just pointing to school psychologists needing to engage with the parents in order to talk to them, and they're being directed there, also pathologizing being trans or being non-binary and gender expression. And conversion therapy is another risk that they face, that exists. It is wrong, and it is just, I have in front of me, I don't have time to go through them, dozens of professional organizations and pride groups and Alter Acadie and the New Brunswick Association of School Psychologists and the Women's Council and the Child and Youth Advocate. So many experts. There was Pride in Education who helped design this. There are educators who were involved, and these so-called consultations that were held, this whole review shouldn't be called a review. What has happened so far has just been meddling and has been irresponsible and has been harmful, and experts have not been listened to. The youth have not been listened to. This is unacceptable. It is a sham of a review. And so I urge everyone in this House to really look into their heart and say, do you support this nonsense? Do you support the rhetoric that's been said against LGBTQ+ youth? Or will you stand up for what's right, for actually having experts review this and not have random meetings with a few people where it sounds like they just got yelled at anyway. So, Mr. Speaker, my time is running short, but I urge everyone on both sides of the House to really think carefully about how they're going to vote on this and to do what's right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Leader of the Official Opposition.